INFJs are one of the rarest personality types in the world. According to the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, MBTI, INFJ stands for introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. That combination makes up less than 2% of the population. They are often called the advocate or the counselor because they deeply care about people and want to make the world a better place. But even though they're calm, quiet, and thoughtful, they're not to be underestimated. At first glance, INFJs seem soft. They often keep to themselves. They don't talk unless they have something meaningful to say. They listen more than they speak. They're compassionate and give people the benefit of the doubt. They want to believe in the good in others. But beneath that gentle surface, there's an inner fire, one that burns for truth, justice, and emotional integrity. INFJs are more than just nice people. They're deep thinkers, emotional warriors, and highly aware of their surroundings. Because they keep things internal, people sometimes misunderstand them. Some might assume they're weak because they don't fight back in obvious ways. Others might test their limits, thinking an INFJ won't react. That's a big mistake. INFJs don't forget. They don't let things slide. They may not raise their voice, but they will draw the line. And once it's crossed, there's no going back. So why should others think twice before provoking an INFJ? Because the INFJ mind is always working. Their silence isn't weakness, it's calculation. Their calm is not passiveness, it's control. And when they decide to act, it's not out of rage. It's with precision, purpose, and power. This video will break down 6 specific reasons why INFJs should never be underestimated and why pushing them too far might come back to bite you. Reason 1. They see through hidden motives. One of the most powerful traits an INFJ has is their intuition. It's not something they turn on or off, it's always active. They walk into a room and can instantly sense tension. They speak to someone and feel whether that person is being honest or fake. It's not just a gut feeling. It's a combination of emotional awareness, body language reading, and subconscious pattern recognition. INFJs are wired to pick up on the small things others miss. When someone lies to an INFJ, they usually know. They may not say anything at first, but they feel it. They feel the shift in tone, the hesitation in words, the slight change in eye contact. INFJs don't always confront people right away, especially if the relationship is important to them. Instead, they sit with it. They observe. They start connecting dots. And once they've figured someone out, there's no going back. What makes this dangerous for anyone trying to manipulate them is that INFJs won't play along. They might smile and nod, but deep down they have already made a judgment. They'll begin pulling away emotionally. They'll guard their energy, and eventually, they'll either confront the issue with clarity or walk away without warning. You can't hide much from an INFJ. They might not know exactly what someone's planning, but they'll know something is off. And the more they think about it, the closer they'll get to the truth. Even if someone is skilled at manipulation or lying, INFJs have an emotional radar that cuts through the noise. That's what makes provoking them so risky. Once they realize someone is being fake, dishonest, or playing games, the INFJ's opinion of that person changes permanently. They don't enjoy drama, but they won't tolerate deceit. They may not explode or lash out, but they will emotionally disconnect. And once they do, there's usually no way back in. Reason 2. Their anger is cold and calculated. Most people expect anger to be loud, shouting, slamming doors, explosive words. But INFJ anger is something else entirely. It's not chaotic. It's not messy. It's cold. It's quiet. It's controlled. And that's what makes it dangerous. When an INFJ gets pushed too far, they don't usually yell or create a scene. Instead, they become still. They stop explaining. They stop engaging. Their voice may stay calm, but their words carry weight. Every sentence is carefully chosen. Every look is intentional. It's not about making someone cry or feel small. It's about making someone understand without question that they crossed a line. What's terrifying about INFJ anger is that it's rarely emotional in the moment. It's more like a calculated response. They have thought about what they want to say. They've pictured the outcome. By the time they speak up, they already know how they want things to end. It could be a final conversation, a decision to cut someone off, or just a firm boundary that won't be crossed again. People often mistake their patience for passiveness. They think they haven't reacted yet, so they must not care. But that's a mistake. INFJs wait. They give people chances. They try to understand. But when they realize someone is taking advantage of their kindness, something inside them clicks. And once that shift happens, it's hard to reverse. When they do get angry, it's not for show. It's not an impulsive outburst. It's the result of deep reflection, and that's why it hits so hard. The person on the receiving end may feel shocked, even blindsided, because they didn't see it coming. But for the INFJ, it's been building for a long time. It's not easy to reach that point with an INFJ, but when someone does, they'll see a side of them that rarely comes out, and one that isn't easy to recover from. They won't just argue. They'll say exactly what needs to be said, in a way that sticks. It's not about hurting someone. It's about clarity, truth, and putting an end to the nonsense. So before provoking an INFJ, ask yourself, can you handle the quiet storm? Reason 3, they're masters of the silent treatment. When most people get upset, they talk about it, they argue, they vent, they post about it. But INFJs take a very different approach. If you hurt them, disappoint them, or cross a line, they often won't say much. In fact, they might not say anything at all. Instead, they go silent. But this silence isn't passive. It's powerful. It's intentional. And it's not just about avoiding a fight. It's a form of emotional distance. INFJs use silence to protect themselves. When they stop talking, it means they're processing. They're pulling back. They're taking a step away from whatever is harming them. For some, that can be incredibly frustrating. You try to reach out, and the INFJ doesn't respond the way you want. You push for answers, but they give you short replies, or none at all. This isn't them being petty. It's them drawing a line without shouting. It's a quiet way of saying, this isn't okay with me. The INFJ's silent treatment isn't about control. It's about boundaries. When they go quiet, it's usually because they've been pushed too far, and they need space to think. They're deciding whether this relationship or situation is worth continuing, and once they've made up their mind, they act accordingly, often without needing to explain themselves. What makes the silence so effective is that INFJs aren't trying to win an argument. They're simply done, and when they're done, they're done. They don't need revenge. They don't need to convince you they were right. They just leave the conversation behind, mentally, emotionally, and sometimes physically. If you've ever been on the receiving end of an INFJ's silence, you know how much it can hurt. It's not loud, but it's loud enough. It forces you to think. It forces you to reflect. And it forces you to face whatever it is that pushed them to that point. So don't misread their quiet nature as weakness. When INFJs go silent, they're not avoiding the issue. They're handling it in their own way, a way that speaks louder than words ever could. Reason 4, their boundaries are stronger than they seem. From the outside, INFJs might seem easygoing and flexible. They're polite. They listen more than they speak. They usually avoid conflict. Because of this, people often think they can push or bend an INFJ without consequences. But that's a huge mistake. INFJs have some of the strongest emotional and personal boundaries of any personality type. They just don't always show it up front. Here's the thing, INFJs don't like drama. They don't enjoy confrontation. So when someone offends them, they don't jump to react. Instead, they take it in, think about it, and ask themselves important questions. Was this intentional? Do I feel safe around this person? Is this worth addressing or walking away from? Because INFJs internalize a lot, people often assume they're weak or overly sensitive. But in reality, they're simply choosing their battles wisely. They know that reacting emotionally in the moment doesn't always help. So they wait, they evaluate, and if something, or someone, continues to violate their values, they draw a line. And once that line is drawn, they rarely go back on it. What's unique about INFJ boundaries is that they're internal. You may not see them set it with a speech or an announcement. They don't always tell you you've crossed it, but once you do, you'll feel it. They start giving you less of their time. Their tone changes. They stop opening up. They retreat, not to punish, but to protect. And once they have decided that someone is no longer good for their emotional well-being, INFJs can cut off that relationship completely. It may not be loud or messy, it may just be quiet and final. They may wish you well in their heart, but they won't go back. They're not interested in circles or repeating the same lessons. Once their boundary is in place, it's locked. This surprises people, especially those who thought they could manipulate or guilt-trip an INFJ into staying connected. But INFJs don't forget how you made them feel. And once they've emotionally checked out, there's nothing to pull them back in. So the truth is, INFJs might appear soft, but their boundaries are steel. And once they're enforced, it's already too late to fix it. Reason 5. They fight for justice, not ego. INFJs are not easily provoked by small things. They're not the type to argue over petty insults or shallow competition. They don't care about proving they're better than someone else. Their egos don't need constant attention or validation. But there's one thing that can trigger an INFJ faster than anything else: injustice. Whether it's someone being bullied, a friend being mistreated, or a community being harmed, INFJs feel it in their core. They care deeply about fairness, kindness, and doing what's right, even if it costs them something. That's because INFJs are guided by strong inner values. When they see someone abusing power, lying to gain advantage, or hurting others for fun, something inside them snaps. And once that moral line is crossed, they act. This doesn't mean they yell or throw punches. It means they speak up when no one else will. It means they defend the person who's being ignored or mocked. It means they challenge unfair rules, question toxic behavior, and shine a light on things most people avoid. What's powerful about this is that INFJs don't do it for attention. They don't need recognition. In fact, they usually prefer to handle things behind the scenes. But when they step up, people listen because they speak with clarity, purpose, and emotion. Their words have weight because they're not coming from a place of ego. They're coming from a place of truth. People who try to provoke an INFJ for fun often don't realize what they're waking up. They're not just dealing with someone who's emotional. They're dealing with someone who has a deep sense of justice. And once that side is triggered, the INFJ will hold their ground with intensity, not to win, but to protect what's right. They don't just stand up for themselves, they stand up for others. And once they do, they don't back down. They'll keep fighting long after the moment has passed, if they believe a principle is at stake. So, if you think you can poke at an INFJ and walk away unaffected, think again. You're not just provoking a person, you're challenging a belief system. And INFJs don't take that lightly. Reason 6. Their loyalty has limits. One of the most admirable traits of an INFJ is their loyalty. When they care about someone, they care deeply. They don't form surface-level relationships. They want real connection, emotional honesty, and mutual respect. When an INFJ calls you a friend or lets you into their inner world, it means something. They'll be there for you. They'll listen to your problems. They'll help when you're down. And they'll stay loyal, sometimes longer than they should. But that loyalty has a limit. The mistake many people make is thinking that INFJs will always stay no matter what. Because INFJs tend to forgive and understand others' flaws, some people take advantage of their patience. They assume that no matter how badly they behave, the INFJ will just keep being kind. They test boundaries. They ignore warnings. They think the INFJ's love is unconditional. What they don't realize is that INFJs are always watching. They notice the patterns. They remember how they felt each time they were hurt or disrespected. And even if they don't react right away, their heart starts building a case. Over time, that emotional weight becomes too heavy to carry. And when that breaking point comes, it's quiet, but final. INFJs don't blow up. They don't create chaos. They simply leave. They may not even explain why. They just disappear emotionally first, then physically. And once they've made that decision, it's nearly impossible to get them back. They don't do this to be cruel. They do it because they've given enough chances. They've tried to fix things. They have tried to communicate. But when nothing changes, they know they have to protect themselves. They won't keep pouring energy into someone who keeps draining them. It can come as a shock to the person on the other end. They think, how could someone so loyal just walk away? But that's the key. INFJs don't walk away quickly. But when they do, it's because they've stayed far too long already. So don't confuse their loyalty with endless tolerance. They'll stick with you through storms, but not forever. Break their trust enough times, and they'll be gone before you even realize what you lost. Conclusion: don't mistake kindness for weakness. Throughout this video, we've explored 6 powerful reasons why others should never provoke an INFJ. While INFJs may seem calm, quiet, and gentle on the surface, there's a lot more going on underneath. They have sharp intuition, powerful emotional depth, and unshakable values. They don't like drama, but they will not let you walk all over them. And when you push them too far, you'll see a side of them you probably never expected. It's easy to mistake kindness for weakness, but INFJs are far from weak. Their kindness is a choice. Their patience is strength. And their silence, it's not fear, it's focus. INFJs are constantly reading between the lines. They notice things others miss. And once they make up their minds, they act with quiet confidence. Whether it's seeing through fake motives, using silence as strength, or walking away without making a scene, INFJs protect themselves with calm precision. And when they feel like someone has disrespected, betrayed, or manipulated them, they don't explode. They simply shut down and shut out. That kind of calm detachment is something many people don't see coming. But when it happens, it's undeniable. So if you have an INFJ in your life, respect them. Appreciate their loyalty. Be honest with them. Because once they lose trust, it's almost impossible to get it back. And if you ever think about pushing their buttons, just to see what happens, don't. You might not like what comes next. INFJs may be rare, but they're also incredibly powerful in their own quiet way. And that's exactly why people should always think twice before provoking one.